All right, so it was at a council meeting maybe back in February, March, not very long ago, where it was announced that the town would be getting behind an effort to create a walking trail that would run somewhere behind Forest View Crescent here in Renfrew and extend along the Bone Share River until it reaches a point. I'm not sure, there was a landing where people used to cross the river 100 years or so ago. At this location, and that is situated somewhere behind the National Archives of Canada and just before that overpass of Highway 17 over the river. So anyways, I knew that efforts were underway to make that trail a reality, and I knew that the goal was to have it ready by July 1st, and I think that the town and the people who have volunteered their services to help carve this thing out of the wilderness, I think those efforts will be rewarded with an opening that will actually take place on July 1st. So, in other words, everything's right on schedule. So I thought I would go out there and bring a camera because I had never been to that part of the river before. I had not seen what it looks like back there. And so I was intending to go back there and give provide a little bit of a scouting report on what people might be able to expect if they were to take this Bone Share River Trail. And so one thing I need to make sure that I make clear is the fact that, in Renfrew, when we think of trails, we often think of the Millennium Trail or the Algonquin Trail, which used to be former railway track beds. But this trail is different. This is actually a wilderness trail, and it's really, I would say for the experienced hiker, it's no problem at all. I mean, it would be a low-level, lower tier in terms of rating its difficulty. I would think to an experienced hiker this would be no problem. But if you're thinking you're just going to park your car and get out wearing your flip-flops and sipping on your whatever you got from Starbucks and you were just going to meander your way through this trail along the river, there's lots of misfortune that's going to await you, and spilling your Starbucks is the least among them. So anyways, I thought I would head out there and bring a camera and see what's what, and like I said, maybe if I provide a little bit of a scouting report, I can help people who are planning to access this trail at some point in the future. Maybe I can help them prepare themselves for what kind of trail we actually have on our hands here. All right, so you could say that I'm deep in the heart of the Bone Share River Trail. Here's something that sort of smacks of civilization. It's a bridge to get over this creek thing, and I went up that way, and just to give you a look of what that way entails, and there's more trail that way, but not for Steve, not today. The hill that I had to come down to get here, I had no idea that the valley that I'm in here, the river valley that I'm in, is so steep on both sides. The sides of this thing are really impressive, and so coming and getting to where I am right now was a bit of work, and it's going to be a bit of work getting out of here because it was downhill when I came here. It's going to be uphill, and that's going to be brutal, and I'm not looking forward to it. But anyways, this is the part of the Bone Share River Trail that the town has commissioned to have hacked out of the forest. And it's a good idea. I know at one point I was worried that if they were going to put a trail in here, that we might have to worry about the guys on four-wheelers and the snow machines, and not so much the bicycle people, but the motorized vehicle people. And I guess I was worried a little bit that some of those guys would come and wreck this, even though they weren't intended. This trail wasn't intended for them. But now that I'm here, there's no snow machine, there's no four-wheeler, there's no side-by-side that's going to take on this that I'm aware of. I'm sure it would be a challenge, but for bigger men with bigger machines, but not for this guy right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you to to the river, because that's what this is all about. And I'm going to share some of that, what I was mentioning to you before, the idea that the sides on either side of the river down here are remarkably steep. And I had no idea. You know, if a person, this is not a trail that you want to take lightly. This is for real. And so this isn't, don't confuse this with the Millennium Trail or the Algonquin Trail or anything like that. That was, you know, where we utilized former track beds to make trails. This is literally hacked out of the forest. And they've done a good job, but you don't. Okay, so if you look across there and you see that on the other side, I think you get a good enough representation on what's happening over there. You could get seriously hurt or even killed if you come down on that. And I'm behind the camera here, but if I lift up a little bit, you can probably get a good sense of where the river kind of hangs a left. I don't really know how the trail corresponds to the river up in that direction, and I'm not going to find out, so I'm going to leave it to other people to determine that for me. But this is where I'm at right now, and this is impressive. I mean, once they get it fleshed out, this is going to look pretty good. But make absolutely no mistake, you're not coming down here wearing your flip-flops. And you also don't want to come down here wearing shorts. You want to make sure that you're covered, because you are walking through, something that I literally said has been hacked out of the forest here. And so, you know, you've got your poison ivy, you've got your poison this, poison that, all those poison things that are around. You've got roots along the trail floor. So your footwear is going to be important. I wouldn't even, honestly, well, I've got my Blendstones on, and I wore them because there's a bit of a base on them, and I could get some stability. But a pair of running shoes in this environment, and definitely sandals, would be a big mistake. And so there you get a sense of another curve in the river. Anyways, I got mosquitoes and black flies after me like crazy. I made sure that I wore a long sleeve shirt, and I've got long pants on, and so I wanted to make sure that I didn't come out of this place full of poison ivy and full of mosquito bites and black fly bites and snake bites and bear bites and all the other freaking bites that a person might be able to come across in an environment like this. From what I understand, the trail is 2 kilometers in length. I think I probably covered maybe half of it. It veered away from the river and went back up into the bush, and so that's where I called it a day. If there's something more spectacular happening that way, I'm going to let Radisson and Groseilliers discover that for me, those 2 famous French fur traders. Or I'm going to try and find the other trailhead that exists over by the National Archives, so there might be a way to get to this trail through there. And if there's any spectacular shots, spectacular potential photography shots, then maybe I'll find them from there. But I'm good for here. What I'm dreading is that is when the trail all of a sudden goes vertical on me, and we have to make that climb back up to where the car's parked. My car is parked on Forest View Crescent. I don't know what that's going to look like if this becomes a popular trail. I don't know how many people would be on this thing at the same time, but I'll say this: if there's any more than 5 vehicles up there, it will start to be a problem, I would think, for the people who live at the end of Forest View Crescent. Unless, I was talking to one gentleman who lives right along the trailhead, right beside it. And he says if that happens, he's going to do the Lansdowne Park thing and start charging for parking. And, you know, I mentioned he might want to get a lemonade stand going, maybe a barbecue. You know what I mean? Nothing more satisfying than coming off a trail after a tough hike, and you got a lemonade stand and some guy cooking hot dogs for you right at the very end. Now, maybe you won't need that, because maybe you packed yourself a nice picnic lunch and you're going to, you're going to find an area, not this area, but you're going to find some spot along here. Now, apparently they're going to put some picnic tables along the route so that you can take a bit of a break from your exploration in the woods. And that's good. I don't know where those picnic tables are going to go. There are some riverscapes, as you can see. But, it's nice. The Bone Cher isn't really a tier 1 river, like the Ottawa or Ottawa and St. Lawrence are two different kinds of beasts of rivers. But the Madawaska is a tier 1 river as well, as far as I'm concerned. This is a very shallow river. It's a very much a brown water river, as most of them are. This appears to have a current in it. Well, I know for a fact it has a current in it because I went swimming one time and got on my back and closed my eyes, and when I opened them, I was like 100 yards downstream. So, yeah, there's a current. But in terms of spectacular photography or that kind of thing, I'm sure it exists in here somewhere, but I'm not picking it off just yet. I mean, yeah, okay, so you've got that, and that looks nice and stuff, but like I said, you're looking at a tier 2 river here. Better than nothing. I applaud what they've done here. This is a good idea. This is a good thing. Nothing's being hurt here. There's no expense that's being wasted here. It is a community effort. There were a lot of people who volunteered their time to come in here and sort of, as I said, hack this thing out of the wilderness. And in particular, Enright Tree Services donated an awful lot of time and equipment to come in here and make this somewhat passable. So taking advantage of the experience that those folks have, and it's very much appreciated. What you want to do, though, when you are walking through this area, and here's one such place right here, is you want to make sure that you scan the ground in front of you, which is precisely what I'm not doing at the moment. This is kind of a nice spot here. I can stop and share this with you, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. If you're going to put a picnic table up in spots like this, you're going to have to do a little more hacking to get the ground level to find enough space to put a picnic table. Also, there's going to be like benches and that sort of thing, park benches where people can stop and contemplate the beauty of nature and perhaps write a poem or maybe a haiku or something nice like that. Nevertheless, I don't see this being the busiest spot in town. I know they're opening it up. The grand opening is going to be July 1st. So there's an example of what you want to look out for, where you've got a route coming across the path. And those things are absolute killers. So, I mean, if you want to break your ankle or sprain your ankle or have a bad fall, as I said, this is not for the faint of heart back in here. And also, I don't know what kind of wildlife is back here. There's always a possibility that there might be a bear or two, so you'd want to be making sure that you're making noise. I think I'm making noise as it is. I don't have any bear spray, so if it comes down to me and a bear back here, well, I guess it's my tripod and myself, and I just freaking, okay, case in point, when they chopped this thing out, they didn't, it's almost impossible to chop it out perfectly. And so there's an awful lot of remnants of little stumps and minor little tree stumps that are still embedded in the trail. And so, as I said, you'd want to make sure that your eyes are pretty much focused downwards when you're back in here. Now, this is a pleasant enough spot. You can see, it's hard to figure out what I'm pointing at here when I'm in this view. But anyways, you can see that's a nice spot, okay? Now, on the other side of the river, you can see that that's obviously part of a farm over there. You can see some fence work there. Another cautionary thing, when you're back in the trail, I actually stumbled upon what was a piece of barbed wire. It was still hooked into whatever it was anchored to, but part of it was strewn, S-T-R-E-W-N, that word. It was that word across the path. And I had run into a couple of other campers up there, and nobody noticed that. And then I saw it, and you know, it's a definite hazard, of course. I was lucky that I got it in my boot rather than having it streak or scrape across my ankle or something like that. And so it's another reason why you'd want to have a pair of work boots or something, not work boots, but something like trail boots, hiking boots. You'd want to have something like that coming back here for sure. So, as you can see, the entire trip doesn't necessarily follow the river. You can hear the river down there, but you know, when you're back in here, you are in the woods. This is not the Algonquin Trail. This is not the Millennium Trail. This is the Bone Share River Trail, and it's for real. And so if you're going to be back here, you better respect it, or you're going to have the possibility of some injuries or some significant discomfort as a result of walking back here, because it is very uneven ground. And as I said, not for the faint of heart. You can get a sense of the elevation change right there as well. So you can see that slope going up there. We've got a more dramatic aspect to that slope coming up when we take the trail and we start moving up towards where I have the car parked, and I'm not looking forward to it. The guy at the trailhead told me that it was a fairly good workout, and I told him I already had my workout today, thanks very much, and that's not exactly what I'm looking for when I'm back here. I'm looking for beautiful vistas. I'm looking for beautiful photography. And I haven't really, I guess I've got a few fairly good shots. This is an example of the kind of thing that you're going to come across. It's not a big deal. These roots might actually help you there as a foothold, so that's what I'm going to try and do. So here we go. And, hey, I made it. Okay, so another nice little spot. Get myself in the frame. And, yeah. So, you know, they're a tree or two away from a really nice look coming down this way, and we've got a dead pine tree here, which I don't know how that survived the chopping and trail clearing and that sort of thing. But anyways, if these two dead pine trees were out of the way, that would be actually three of them. If they were out of the way, that would be a nice little look down in that direction. But hey, I'm not in charge of the trail. I'm just the guy walking it. So, okay, so here we go. You can start to see that, and this isn't the worst of it, but you can see right here that the trail is going to go up that way. And so, yeah, I gotta walk that, and I don't want to, but here I go, and you're coming with me. So, yeah, for the most part, it's pretty well, it's pretty well done. You can see there's spots where there's sort of like little side trails that go off, and I didn't want to, because there's a little blue marker that indicates that you can go that way as well. I didn't. I stuck to the beaten track. You know, another good idea back in here would be to have a pair of gloves on so that you can grab trees. And I know you can grab trees with your bare hands, but these trees have all had lots of branches popped off them. And so the nubs of those branches are still around. And so if I take my friend here, and you see this kind of thing right there, if you're grabbing for support or balance, that's going to hurt a lot. Here's another half decent vista. Get myself in the frame. There we go. I guess that was worth the trip right there. And again, I'll tilt you down and it gives you a sense of what kind of drop it is down there. And this is nothing. We still have much higher to go. And like I said, you fall down there and you're going to have yourself a rough afternoon. And if you land improperly or poorly, it may be the last afternoon that you ever have. So, anyways, moving forward. And again, you want to make absolutely sure that you're looking down because of all these tree branches and tree roots and that sort of thing. And, okay. Well, here's the part I'm not looking forward to at all. Over my left shoulder there. So I feel all right at the moment. So I'm going to go give this a shot and we'll see what happens. And I'm not sure what that is in my screen. It must be the sun. Okay, well, let's get out of the sun and let's start climbing this beast. As I said, gloves would be fabulous if you were to fall or lose your balance and you have to reach out and grab something. Gloves would make a world of difference. And avoid stuff like that. You know, I'm not going to call it a tripping hazard because I'm on the way up, but on the way down it could be a tripping hazard. And you know, when I turn you around, if you trip on this slope, you've got some excitement ahead of you, that's for sure. You don't want to be on a downward tumble back in here. So watch out for these things. As I said, this is not a place where, and if you're going to be bringing small kids back in here, you need to make sure that they're properly dressed, have the correct footwear, and keep them close at hand. You don't want them running off ahead of you here because there's all sorts of places where they can get into trouble in terms of injury or that sort of thing. So, yeah, this is for real. So that's just part of it. There's more. Much more. Holy smokes, I'm out of breath. Not only are we on an elevation here, but we're also on a bit of a slope. You can see that it's not level. And so again, if you're somebody who struggles with your balance, this is not a place for you to go. Like I said, that's not a good time. If you were to go down there, you would be seriously hurt. You would be all chopped up. You wouldn't make it all the way down to the bottom, I don't think. You'd probably get impaled by something on the way down. Take your pick. Neither one of them is has a particularly good sound to it. Just one little hill, I think. So far, so good. Still hanging in there. I'll never come back in here again. That's a commitment I'm going to make to myself. Another thing too, you get back in here and your legs start getting tired and then you get lazy legs. And when that happens, there's an even better chance of you suffering some form of misadventure back in here. So, there we go. Doesn't look like much, but it's much. Another smaller little incline here. But, like, check this out. Okay, give me a sec here. Should kind of watch what I'm doing. So, to my left, down that way, is a world of hurt, as you can see. But that's not to be confused with down this way, where there's a world of hurt. And you're on this narrow little, whatever this thing is, whatever geographers call landforms like this, but you're in between two herds. And so, as I've said 1,000 times already, you better be careful when you're back in here, because, yeah, for those people who have experience tromping through the woods and stuff, this is a piece of cake. But if you think you're, you know, if you're Mr. and Mrs. Urban, and you just heard about this in the paper, and you heard that they were going to be having their grand opening or ribbon cutting ceremony on July 1st, and you decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to come out here and walk the trail and check out the ribbon cutting and all that kind of stuff. If you are that type of person, for heaven's sakes, I hope you prepare yourself, because this could be really uncomfortable. You know, you don't have to fall down out here, but you could come out of this place with an awful lot of insect bites and that sort of thing, and that's never a good time either. So just a little heads up for that. Again, you might want to have gloves, long sleeves, long pants. I don't know, I've got some insect activity around my neck and stuff, so maybe a shirt or a top that has some sort of neck to it that you can secure, and you ought to be good to go. I hope that's the last hill that I have to climb to get out of here. I think it is. I've had enough. This is wonderful. I just want to go to No Frills and buy stuff for supper now and leave this behind me. I want to get into the production studio, and I want to hammer this all together so that you can watch it and be warned, be aware of what's back here in the wilds behind Forest View Crescent. What the town of Renfrew has carved out of the forest for your enjoyment and your civic pride. And I think that they have been successful in that. And you know, the thing just got started, really. You know, there wasn't, if there was a trail back in here before, what they did enhanced the trail, but it's still pretty wild back here. What this is going to look like as years go by and as more and more people come back here to use it, I don't know. Maybe there aren't any real plans. I know when I first heard of it, the concept of it, I was kind of wondering if they were going to, at some point, extend the trail to go all the way down to where the McDougall Museum is, so that you would have you'd have a longer trail. I guess at some point in my life I figured, wouldn't it be nice if there was some sort of road, some sort of town street that followed the river, all the way from National Archives to the McDougall Mill Museum. But now that I see the layout of the land back here, that's just not possible. You're not going to get a road that can follow the river because of those slopes. There's just no way. So you can see now we're heading towards the trailhead, and things are starting to get a little better. So there's no major hills, and you can see off in the distance where my car is. And so that's it. I'm sorry I didn't go the entire way for you, but I did what I could, right? I'm going to leave it to the big time explorers to get back here and capture it. But it's nice. It's nicer here where there's a bit of a breeze and the wind's blowing through the poplars, and it's a great place for a picnic table. Just can't see the river. But anyways, yeah, so looking a lot better in this direction. So there it is. We took the trail. We didn't finish the trail. When I look at Google Earth and I try and match up my experience with what I see on Google Earth, I'm having a tough time reconciling those two sources of information. Whereas I saw the river sort of curling to the left, if you can recall in the video, where it just sort of swept to the left. That didn't correspond with what I saw on Google Earth. Now I know that there's this significant, perhaps it went to the left and then made a hard right. Now that, you know, I didn't see that. I didn't follow the trail far enough in to observe that, and who knows, maybe had I kept on plucking along, I would have found some spots where the photography would have been fabulous. But I gave up when I came across the barbed wire and I couldn't really. It seemed like the trail was veering away from the river, and there was a significant hill ahead of me. So I just took a look at that and decided to bail out. So, anyways, it's certainly not your most comprehensive scouting report on any trail. I don't fly a drone. I don't know how. I don't have one. That's probably in the best interests of the public and myself. So if anyone wants to get a closer look, I guess they're going to have to go boots on the ground. And maybe if I get ambitious enough, I might try and find the opening to this trail somewhere out behind the National Archives, assuming there's no security in that building that's going to shoot me while I'm walking across their grounds. At any rate, that's the Bone Chair River Trail, and that's my little report on it. And hey, have a terrific day.